My hair's done. I need to wash it. I guess I'll do it today. Y'all, good morning. You ever wake up and feel like you look like shit, and then you see yourself and you're like, okay, it's not too bad. It's doable. It's doable. Y'all, I've been so busy with schoolwork this morning. It's been kind of crazy. It's got me super stressed out because I asked the college about if I had to drop out, would I be responsible for the loan? And they said that a good portion that I will be responsible for. So not the complete $22,000 tuition, but she said a good portion. I don't know if that's half, if that's a quarter, if that's $100. I don't know. So I got up quickly and ran to go do schoolwork this morning because I can't afford $2,000 in student loans, much less $22,000. So I went to do my schoolwork because I'm sticking with it because it's what I need to do. But just know that I have no one that's like told me, oh, you should do that, or, you know, it's crazy. It's so crazy how no one has encouraged me to complete school. Every person I've ever come in contact with feels some type of way about the fact that I am dead set on graduating with some kind of degree. That is disturbing. Do you know how unstable your environment is when you do not have people in your circle rooting for you? No wonder my life looks like this. I cannot even have a general conversation with anyone I know about my education. They're all fake. It's all surface level. It's all fake. You know? I've been the only one that has cared about this, and I have to for myself, but it sucks to have people that love you and they don't give a fuck about whether or not you succeed or not. And I'm here to tell you that anyone that says that they love you and they're not rooting for you, they don't love you. That's not love. Love is having someone in your corner that wants your best interest at heart. They have your best interest at heart. That's real love. I know it's hard to conceptualize because most of us don't have that. Clearly, these relationships out here are not only toxic, but they're surface level. It's almost as if society is completely incapable of having meaningful relationships and friendships and connections with other people nowadays. I blame the internet. I think that the internet is the reason that these things have gotten so bad. I really do. I think that the internet is to blame for the lack of connection, communication, loyalty, respect. I mean, when I really think about it, the internet is probably the main reason that relationships are failing out here. It's crazy. I just want people to know that if someone loves you, they'll be rooting for you no matter what you want to do with your life. And matter of fact, if you're doing what you need to do with your life and they're discouraging you from doing that, that's not your friend. That's not somebody that cares about you. That's trash. That's trash. So don't accept that behavior and know that you're better than that. It's really disturbing how everybody has a problem with me going to school. Maybe it's because they didn't go to school. So it makes them feel some type of way about the fact that I'm trying to get educated and that I am getting educated. Maybe it makes them feel some type of way. Maybe they want to hurt me because they can't have me. Because that's a common theme. That's literally one of the most used methods of torture against me personally. People get mad that I cut them out of my life because they're toxic, abusive, and narcissistic. And then they want to come after me and try to harm me in any way possible. I talk about this on a bi-weekly basis. This is nothing new. If you've been here before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When people do not get the result or the behavior that they want from you, they turn angry and bitter, and then they come after your blood. It's crazy. I just want people to know something I was thinking about this morning. People ask me why I'm by myself. People ask me why I choose to be alone. Well, I can't even find friends that will encourage me to do the right things. So I don't need friends because I know what I need to be doing, and schoolwork is at the top of the list, baby. Anyone that's discouraging me from going to school and trying to get an education is not someone that loves me. I can assure you of that. That's why I stay alone, because I can't find people to lift me up. Everybody wants to drag me down. I swear to God on my life, I don't have one person in my life right now that encourages me. I've never had one person that I knew for over 10 years congratulate me on my sobriety. They all thought I'd end up dead. Guess what, bitch? I'm alive and kicking and thriving in sobriety. They were probably hoping I'd end up dead so I couldn't tell all their fucking secrets. Okay. Yeah. Well, the cat's out the bag. That's never stopped me before, has it? Not even in death. I woke up. I woke up from death telling secrets. They brought me back from the grave to tell how much of full of shit you are. I love it. Oh, y'all, there's so much going on. First of all, I want to talk about all of this political violence and killing that's actually taking place. So we saw Luigi Mangoni, who was the young guy who shot and killed Brian Thompson, who was an insurance CEO. Brian Thompson was making like $10 million a year. Luigi Mangoni felt some type of way about this guy being a CEO, and he felt like the insurance companies were dirty. It turned into a big political, maybe not political, it actually surprisingly brought everybody together. Everybody was on the same page with that. That actually brought everybody together when I think about it, because people are actually outraged at how expensive healthcare is in America. That we have a very broken system. And it brought a lot of people together in a weird way. A lot of people identified with Luigi and being, I guess, angry and wanting to take revenge against someone who is clearly ruining lives. And Brian Thompson was. He was a horrible person. Anyone that says otherwise is lying to themselves. He was a horrible person. And the same thing goes for these Minnesota lawmakers. They were horrible people. Political violence is not okay, though. This man, let me get my screen up. This man, Vance, his name is Vance. Is it pronounced Bowletter? Listen, he's 58 and he's charged with killing Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. So I went to go do some digging to figure out who Melissa Hortman was and who Mark Hortman was, because they were a married couple and they both were. Is my Bluetooth messed up? Hold on. Okay, it's off. I can't. My thing is ringing and I was like, is it that phone or this phone? So ironically, Mark Hortman, who's been in politics most of his life, does not have a wiki page, which I found weird because he was a Minnesota lawmaker, but there's no wiki page on his history in working in office. Nothing. Now, his wife, Melissa, she does have a wiki page, and she's done nothing respectable. Quite the opposite. She says that her and her husband, Mark Hortman, we're just going to go Melissa and Mark. Thank God, right? Easy names. Melissa and Mark, actually, they said that they were Catholics, right? But both of them routinely pushed for pro-choice, abortion, climate change. You seen a theme here? Clearly, they were leftist, Democratic, but they did nothing in their career. And matter of fact, Melissa's page, it tells me nothing she done at all. Hold on one second. So Melissa worked as an intern at the United States Senate for Al Gore and John Kerry, and clerk for the judge John Somerville while in law school. She served at the Brooklyn Park City Human Relations Commission and worked as an assistant county attorney for Hennepin County. She first gained public attention in '97 as a lawyer on the case involving housing discrimination by landlords. She won almost $500,000 civil award for her client, which was then the largest award in state history. She was elected into the Minnesota House of Representatives in 2004, defeating a Republican, and she was reelected 2 years thereafter until her death. So Melissa Hortman served as an assistant majority leader from 2007 to 2010, as majority whip from 2011 to 2012. From 2013 to 2014, she served as the House Speaker pro tempore and chaired the Energy Policy Committee. It just says that she went from here to here to here. It does not tell you anything she done while she was in office. Nothing. That probably means she done nothing. So in her first term, Hortman was an outspoken advocate for the North Star commuter rail line, which runs through her district. She also supported a new stadium for the Minnesota Twins. She was an advocate for the environmental issues and the effort to bring the 2020 Summer Olympics to Minnesota. She was pro-choice, supported gun control policies, the irony, and opposed voter identification initiatives. In 2008, she managed the DFL floor operation during a successful attempt to override the governor of Minnesota, Tim Pawley's veto of a gas tax increase. While the chair of the Energy Policy Committee, she was the chief author of the State Solar Energy Standard and Community Solar Laws. Ooh, here we go. So what is this community solar laws? A community solar project, farm, or garden is a solar power installation that accepts capital from and provides output credit and tax benefits to multiple customers, including individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and other investors. Participants typically invest in or subscribe to a certain kilowatt capacity. So this is some program for solar panels. In July of 2020, Hortman helped negotiate a police reform bill that, quote, limits the use of neck restraints and chokeholds, prohibits departments from offering controversial warrior-style training, and creates an independent state to unite and creates an independent state unit to investigate when a police officer kills someone or is accused of sexual misconduct. I'd like to see her have to run down a suspect in the middle of the street. So on June 14th of 2025, Hortman and her husband, Mark, who you can't find no information on other than the fact that he was from North Carolina, he was from Raleigh. Hold on one second. I've already got it pulled up. He was from Raleigh. Mark Hortman. He was from Raleigh. He went to NC State. He went to UNC. That's pretty much the only damn thing you can find on him. But allegedly, he was a political figure too, which is weird because you can't find nothing on him. No wiki page. No, even his LinkedIn that I went to is pretty much, it's just shit. It doesn't say anything about what he does or what he was doing. Here it is. I got it. Husband killed in Minnesota. Lawmaker shooting was Raleigh native. He attended the UNC and NC State. Mark Hortman was a native of Raleigh, North Carolina. A LinkedIn page for Hortman lists him as a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and NC State. That's pretty much the only thing that's on his LinkedIn page. A man who died in a highly... Now, this woman, Melissa, and this man, Mark, were married. Melissa was part of the House of Representatives, as I just read you some of her political career. I don't know much about that, but I do know that them people are corrupt. The House of Representatives. I've met several people that are active members of the House of Representatives from Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia, and they're all scum. Republicans. So, Democratic former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed in their Brooklyn Park, Minnesota home early on Saturday morning. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's an idiot, called the incident a, quote, politically motivated assassination. Senator John Hoffman, also a Democrat, and his wife Yvette were injured at their address about 9 miles away. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Shit. So those two people lived, right? I think they lived, y'all. The other two people. So it was two different couples that were shot. Sorry. Yeah, so he lived. Senator John Hoffman and wife recovering from multiple gunshots. So, Mark and Melissa Hortman were shot dead, and then a senator and his wife, they had tried to kill them as well. They're in the hospital recovering from multiple gunshot wounds. So it was actually two different couples that were gunned down in this incident. So there was a 43-hour manhunt looking for this guy named Vance. How they knew that it was him, I don't know. But let's see. Hold on one second. On June 14th of 2025, Hortman and her husband were shot and killed in their home by a suspect impersonating a police officer. Another lawmaker, John Hoffman, and his wife were also shot in a related incident. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said that the shooting appeared to be politically motivated. The suspect in the shooting was identified as 57-year-old Vance Luther Bowletter. Listen. Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley said that Vance was not a real police officer and was clearly impersonating one. Vance ran I can't never say this word. He ran a church, y'all. He was a scammer. Evangelic. Listen. I can't say it. You know, it's a ministry. I can't say it. It's a ministry organization, have allegedly been ordained in 1993, and a private security company with his wife. So he had this evangelical ministry. Oh man. And he also had a security company. He had preached against abortion rights and the rights of the LGBTQ+. A list of other targets was found in his car at the scene, which included pro-choice advocates. What is wrong with me? I feel like Robin Williams when he fell out of the window in that robot movie. I'm just breaking down. All right, get serious. So there was a list when they searched his car, and I have some of the evidence photos that they found in his car. He had all kinds of stuff in there. When they searched his car, they found a list. Walz and other Walz, like the governor, Tim Walz, and other Democratic politicians were on the list. The FBI added that Vance to their wanted list and offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to his capture. He was arrested on June 15th near his home in Green Isles, Minnesota. The state of Minnesota charged him with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. On June 15th, Okay, let's see. On June 15th, they said that they believe Vance was hiding somewhere in the Midwest and might still be in Minnesota. On the same day, a vehicle which Vance was traveling in after fleeing the scene of the shooting was found in the country of Minnesota. An emergency alert was then issued for that county. It was also made public that Vance's wife had been pulled over with several other relatives during a traffic stop in Minnesota. Onama? You couldn't have called it like Charles something. On June 14th of 25, and was found to be in possession of cash and passports. Oh, Lord. So she was in on this? Why she got cash and passports and the whole family in the car? Where's she going to? As he's off in the opposite direction shooting lawmakers. So Vance was apprehended after being spotted by a resident's trail camera and by drones operated by law enforcement. The capture of and charges against Vance were announced at a press conference led by the U.S. blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. So the Hortmans were Roman Catholic and taught Sunday school. Yeah, pushing for abortion rights while teaching Sunday school. It's the most oxymoronic thing. I don't understand how people get there. Like, it's clearly against God's word, and you're still repping for this behavior, trying to claim that you're a Christian. It's crazy. It's crazy. All of the, they're absolutely burning in hell right now, not to be mean, but, you know, the reality is the reality. And they were out here supporting demonic democratic policies and putting them into action. You don't sit on the House of Representatives for 20 damn years by not being corrupt. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So let's see here. It's not giving me details of how he got in, like, to these properties, how he was able to access these properties, how he got so close to these people. I mean, it seems like he literally, well, it says that he impersonated a police officer. I don't know. So who is he? So Vance worked for a security company that advertised a fleet of police-type vehicles and other equipment that could potentially have aided in him appearing to be law enforcement. So this is starting to explain. A longtime friend told CNN on Saturday that Vance was a conservative who strongly opposed abortion rights, but never mentioned any anger with the lawmakers who were shot. It was kind of the thing that defined him, said David Carlson, talking about Vance's religious and political beliefs. And I'm sure you guys have already seen his face plastered all over the news. That guy. They said they found him crawling in a field. They saw him with like a drone or something. He was like down in a field, army crawling through the field. Vance largely shied away from political posts on his publicly available social media accounts, and he did not discuss abortion rights in any religious speeches reviewed by CNN. In one talk he gave in the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2023, he appeared sharply critical of LGBT rights. Let me just be clear. This is wrong. He shouldn't have done this, but people are at their breaking point. He was a minister. He clearly has some mental health problems, but I'm trying to understand where he was psychologically, and the only thing that's reasonable is that this is a man that was trying to bring people closer to God, and his own state is pushing against that by passing laws that harm children, harm women. I can empathize with this man because I understand how strongly he felt about these situations, because I feel the same. It's just sad that he took it to this extent. And they're absolutely going to burn him at the stake. You know, they're absolutely going to throw the book at him. I wonder if he was thinking that this would be like another Luigi Mangoni situation where he would get his revenge and then the public would just woe over him taking this to a violent place. Like they did with Luigi. You know, they idolized Luigi. They still do. He has a whole fan club of women just lining up to throw themselves at his feet. It's really weird, but I'm wondering if he thought that this would get a different result than what he got. I don't know. I just know that he was a minister, and I understand. That's all I need. He was a minister, and these people were pushing demonic policies. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Listen, I ain't saying it's right. I just understand why. I understand why. There's people, especially in America, they don't know. So this is what he said in a sermon. This Vance guy that shot these 4 Democratic lawmakers, killing 2 of them. 2 of them are still in the hospital. This is what he said on his social media post. It was in a ministry. He was up preaching, honey, and he said this in his ministry. There's people, especially in America, they don't know what sex they are. They don't know their sexual orientation. They're confused. The enemy has gotten so far into their minds and soul, he said during a sermon at a Pentecostal church in Eastern DRC. I mean, one thing's for damn sure, he got it. He got it. He understood what was going on. He knew that these lawmakers, were destroying people. Listen, in my opinion, I like this guy more than Luigi. Sorry, not sorry. You know, I do. I like this guy more than Luigi. Luigi's killing was about money. This killing is about God and how the devil seeps in through policies being made. Okay? In my opinion. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I understand this guy a little bit more than I do Luigi. He felt like, in my opinion, he had his moral purpose was to deter people from falling into the LGBTQ+. It sounds like he hated abortion rights. He hated the LGBTQ+. And I know hate's a strong word, but clearly people don't go out and murder people if they're not like at a point of rage and hate. So clearly he did. He hated these policies. And he even says the enemy has gone so far into their minds and souls. He got it. He saw what the devil was doing. He even says they're confused. You know, like JoJo Siwa, like Demi Lovato, like, who was the other one? Who was the other one that was Billie Eilish. All of these women in the past 2 months, that all of a sudden they realize that they're heterosexual and they like men. Most of those women that I just listed off, though, were used as a pawn in the LGBTQ+ political rights movement. And now these women have woke up and realized that they like penis. I mean, thank God for that. But he knew what he was talking about. They don't know what sex they are. They don't know their sexual orientation. They're confused. I literally have chill bumps. This guy got it. He might be a fucking psycho. He killed some people. We all sinners. He got it. He understood the mission. And you know, he had dedicated his life to ministry, to preaching all over the world. He's been to Congo. He's been to Africa. He regularly travels to Africa to help people in Africa and preach the word of the Lord. I think he had some severe mental health problems going on. I think there's a lot. So it looks like this friend of his, the friend of Vance's, said that he had recently been facing financial problems possibly due to his regular travels to Africa. The security firm had failed to find traction, leaving Vance scrambling to find work. So when life starts to fall apart like this, and you've dedicated yourself to a good cause, I would, just like when it comes to people not getting the reaction they want out of you and then turning bitter, that happens internally when your life falls apart and everything's going up in smoke. A lot of people, especially at this age, he's at the prime age to have a midlife crisis because his life is imploding, and so he turns bitter and he tries to take it out on society. Makes perfect sense. People do this on a small scale every day when they stab you in the back. But it sounds like he was having financial issues, clearly mental health issues, in my opinion. He was regularly traveling to Africa. So he's doing all of these preaching seminars across Africa. It doesn't seem like he's making any money. His security firm is going under. It sounds like his life was imploding. And that could be what led him to stepping over that ledge, honey. Because, a lot of people turn angry and they want to blame everybody else when their life is imploding like this guy's was. I don't know if that's the case, but it sounds like he was not in a good place. The problem is, his friend said, is that he quit all of his jobs to go to Africa. And then he comes back and tries to find new jobs. It wasn't working out that good. In federal court on Monday, Vance said that he cannot afford a private attorney to represent him against the 6 federal charges he now faces for gunning down 4 Democratic politicians. He says he has a part-time job earning about $540 a week and has no other source of income. He told a judge that he owns his home and several cars registered in his name. It looks like a federal defender has been appointed to represent Vance. So let's talk about how he was apprehended. In the final hours, authorities have described as the largest manhunt in the state's history. A breakthrough in the search came when a vehicle believed to have been abandoned by Vance was found. Is it Sibley? Sibley County? Sibley? Sibley? That's the best I got, homie. That's the best I got. Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley said Sunday, adding that an officer in the area also thought he saw Vance running into the woods. Law enforcement then set up a large-scale perimeter and deployed SWAT teams into the woods. Authorities searched for roughly an hour and a half after getting the tip. They used infrared technology and a helicopter. Listen, I try so hard. One day I'm going to come back and look at all of this 10 years from now, and like my vocabulary is going to be extensive then, and I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh at all of this. You have to. Listen, I'm in search of knowledge. If I don't start now, it'll just never happen. Sometimes you got to sound stupid for a little while to seem smart later on or something. Infrared technology and a helicopter were key to locating Vance in the dark. Vance was found in a field in Green Isles about 1 mile from his family home. What an idiot. You never go to... Listen, I don't know if you're ever going to be on the run, but if you are, the last place you need to go is home. Go far, far away from home, Dorothy. Don't go home. They're going to be there waiting for you. That's a bad move. If we're on the run, we head to a mountain where there are no people and isolate. Stop going home. God, you're going to get busted. Let me not teach people how to evade the cops. Just don't go home. They're already going to be there waiting for you. They probably already have it under surveillance. God, what a dummy. So, and I didn't want him to get free. He deserves to go to jail. He tried to kill 4 political figures, and even though I don't like these people, God's word is still God's word, and it's wrong. It's a sin to kill. It's wrong. He had no right to do this, and he deserves whatever punishment is going to come to him on this earth and in the afterlife. So he was 1 mile from his family home. This was just after 9 p.m. on Sunday. After closing in on Vance, law enforcement teams were able to call him. They called him out to us. He attempted to evade arrest for roughly another hour. Eventually, he crawled into law enforcement teams and was placed under arrest at that point in time. No officers were injured in the hunt and apprehension of him. God, everybody was involved. State and federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, the ATF, and the U.S. Marshal Services. So here is some of the... This is what his vehicle looked like. This is the crime scene photos, I suppose. So it looks like he had guns. You can see weapons, ammunition. There's clips down in the cup holders. He clearly was on a killing rampage. I mean, nobody loads up the car with that many weapons unless they live in it like me, you know. Nobody has that many weapons in their car unless they live in their car like me, okay? So he clearly had a plan for murder that spanned, and like they said, he had a list with like Tim Walz and other Democratic policymakers' names on it. So the 4 people he shot, 2 of which he killed, was not the end of it. He had semi-automatic weapons, assault-style rifles. I don't know why they call it that. Anyways, let's talk about what they found. So officials found at least 5 firearms in the SUV registered to Vance that he left at the Hortman's home. Why did he leave his car there? He is the worst criminal in history. Oh my God. Like, for real. They know who he is now because his car's there with his tags and all of his guns that are registered to him. I mean, he's an idiot. I think that he was severely mentally not well. This is the worst criminal in history. So he shot and killed these people, and then he left his personal vehicle in their driveway and took off on foot. So they found semi-automatic assault-style rifles with a large amount of ammunition. There was also a medical kit with wound treatment supplies, sleeping eye mask, as well as several notebooks filled with handwritten notes. Listed among the pages of those notebooks were the names of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal public officials, including Representative Hortman, whose home address was written next to her name. Hortman was included in several of the lists, with details about her home and family written in the notebook. Vance used websites that allow searchers for public information of others, like home addresses and family names. And, you know, there's so many of those websites, truthfinder.com. We've used that before. We found out a shit ton of information on the owners of a restaurant that I worked at. It showed me their whole criminal past from 4 different states. It's crazy. So you can find out a lot of information on stuff like Truthfinder and other websites. That's the only one I've ever used, but it's worth it. It is. It's expensive, but it's worth it if you need information. So that's how he got these policy leaders, policymakers' address, was through online paid websites to pay for information. A GPS system in the SUV he allegedly left at the Hortman's home had a trip history of addresses. Jesus Christ, he's a dummy. D-U-M-M-Y, dummy. Well, one thing's for sure, his house is going down, because he's done left more than enough sufficient evidence for him to be prosecuted for these crimes. I mean, he literally left his car, his GPS that also had other addresses in it, as well as elected officials' homes in Maple Grove, Minnesota, and the addresses of 2 other state officials. Those addresses were found in the GPS. He had already drove up and drove by to probably do a little stalking before he decided to go gun them down in their damn driveway. The GPS system that was left in his SUV that he left behind showed his whole history of where he had been. He's not very smart. I have reason to believe that he's mentally, very mentally unwell. Very mentally unwell. I don't think that this was just an act of like religious vigilantism. I think that he's mentally unwell. So it looks like they also found components of a recovered Beretta 9.2 9mm handgun that was just laying on the ground in one of the victim's yards. And the damn thing's probably registered to him too, He's not the type of guy to go buy some guns off the streets, if you ask me. Also found in the area were pieces of a dismembered Beretta 92 9mm semi-automatic handgun, which appears to have been purchased in 2000, a flashlight and a tactical body armor vest, and a mask matching the description of the one that Vance was allegedly seen wearing, which officials described as hyper-realistic. Authorities are idiots then. Let's talk about it. What was Vance's motives? Listen to what authorities have been saying. Authorities say it's still unclear what may have been the motive behind Vance's killings. Somebody please hire me so I can write this better. In my opinion, this was politically motivated with the backing of religious, It's like with a side of religion for dessert. Yeah, this was politically motivated. That was the main course, and then dessert was religion. I really do. I think that his life was imploding, and I think he was struggling mentally. So it looks like Vance went to the Minnesota politician's home in the early hours of Saturday morning with the intent to kill them. He embarked on a planned campaign of stalking and violence designed to inflict fear, injure, and kill members of the Minnesota state legislature and their families. The state prosecutor is saying that his primary motive was to go out and murder people. I don't think you need to be a prosecutor. I think you need to give me your job because you're dumb as a box of rocks. They were all elected officials. They were all Democrats. Beyond that, I think that it's just way too speculative for anyone that's reviewed these materials to know and to say what was motivating him in terms of ideology and specific issues. You better be glad your name's not printed. Who is that? You idiot. Joseph H. Thompson. He is the U.S. Attorney General for the District of Minnesota. Yeah, you're an idiot. So it's really crazy that he's 55 years, or no, how old was he? 47? One of the victims was 55. I'm trying to figure out how old he was. 57. So that's prime time for midlife crisis. It is. That's actually prime time for midlife crisis. It's kind of sad, but I think that there's more to it religiously. This is a man that spent his career spending what free money he had to fly to Africa to preach sermons to Africans. I don't know. I think when you venture out of the West and you go to other countries and you see the way different cultures do different things, you have more of a perspective on life. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he wasn't well, and it's wrong. Very wrong. And they're probably going to throw the book at him, but I find it interesting that they're trying to distance themselves from the facts of the case, and the facts of the case is more than likely he was motivated by religion, The Christians don't want to admit that because that looks bad on the Christians. And then the Democratic policymakers, they don't want to admit that because they know what they're doing is wrong, and they don't want religion brought up because they're Catholic, remember? It's crazy. Anyways, I want to talk about this 19-year-old girl that fell off of an 80-foot cliff, and it was actually a roadway. She was on a motorcycle, and her family is looking for answers in this crash. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without being mean. I'm just going to read this. A 19-year-old fell more than 80 feet after crashing her motorcycle and died. Her family is now trying to find out what caused the crash. I'm just going to reserve it for the end so that I can figure out how to say this kindly. A Valley family is searching for answers after a 19-year-old woman was killed in a motorcycle crash on an interchange west of downtown Phoenix, and her motorcycle was stolen. So what happened, from what we can tell, because the motorcycle was stolen after she fell over this, and this was one of those huge, you ever been to Miami? You know how the highways are just stacked on each other, and they're like turning this way and turning this way, and they're just stacked up like one of them 80s games with the little matchbox cars. You know, you could build a building and then send the cars skating down it. It's like that. The highways are just crazy. This was a huge overpass. It was a highway, and it was an 80-foot drop to the bottom. And at some point when she was going down the highway, they do believe that she hit like the side concrete. I'm literally getting chill bumps. They think that she hit the concrete barrier and it sent her flying over. Well, wouldn't you know it, 2 seconds after, people start calling 911 because they witnessed this woman fly over this 80-foot drop off of her motorcycle. When the cops get there, her motorcycle has been stolen. They need the motorcycle to precisely kind of come up with a crash incident report. Having the motorcycle is 50% of this case. We need to look at the exterior of the motorcycle to determine how this crash took place. Well, since the motorcycle was stolen, they don't know. Here's the thing. We don't know if she hit that concrete barrier and went over. We don't know if someone had stopped their car in front of her and was trying to grab her and then threw her over. There's no cameras out there. We don't have any witnesses. We do see that people called 911 after she fell over because people saw her body on the ground. But we don't know what led to this crash. So her family is wanting answers. The Arizona Department of Public Safety said that the crash happened on the evening of June 8th on the ramp from eastbound Interstate 10 to southbound Interstate 17, just west of downtown Phoenix. The woman who was driving the motorcycle, identified by family as 19-year-old Annabelle Force, somehow lost control of her motorcycle, crashed into a median wall, and then fell 80 feet and later died. Her family wants the bike back. Her family wants to know if anybody saw anything. They want to know how this crash occurred. Unfortunately, I don't think that there was any external factors. I think that her age is a huge part, and we're going to get into that in a second. Hold on one second. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for teenagers in the U.S. I talk about this all the time, how these children's brains, this was a child. Let me be clear. She was 19 years old. She was still a child. She was anywhere from 5 to 9 years before her brain would be fully developed. So she was still a child. She should have not been on this motorcycle. She should have not been out there riding. So her family said that they become worried when she did not arrive home to her destination about 5:30 that evening. They tracked her cell phone. They noticed that it was stationary at the site of the crash, so they called the police. Police initially had trouble finding her because her motorcycle stayed on the ramp after the crash, but it was stolen before the officers got to the scene. That meant there was no crash scene. So they're assuming, law enforcement is assuming, that she hit a barrier and fell over the wall. Unfortunately, we don't know if that's the case. Do I believe that she hit that wall? Yes. I think that she was probably speeding. She lost control. She probably speed wobbled, tried to get control, couldn't get control, hit the wall and went over. Absolutely, 100%. But there's no evidence also at the same time to support that. There could have been external factors. Someone could have hit the back end of the bike, the back tire. Anything could have happened. We just don't know. But given the circumstances of these types of things being the number one leading cause of death in teenagers, statistically speaking, it's more likely that she lost control, hit the wall, and went over. And this is why I talk about not giving children high-powered automobiles. Their brains, the frontal cortex, is responsible for impulse control and decision making. It's not fully developed until approximately 30. So it's kind of counterproductive to put someone, a child, on a crotch rocket and give them free reign of the city. We're going to talk about the stats on that in a minute. So it took about an hour and a half before they were able to find her body. Her bike was gone. By the time the cops got there, they said they sent out a patrol officer around 6:30 and they did not see anything. That's when they got the helicopter out there, and it took them a while to find her, but they eventually did. So it looks like it was her own family that found her. I read a different report where somebody had called 911, and that must have been her mother looking for her. I don't know, but it sounds like they didn't even know she was missing or this accident had occurred until after the family reported her missing, and then they went to do an aerial search for her, and they found her, but her bike was gone. I'm wondering if this accident was intentionally produced to steal the bike, because that's probable. And this is also Phoenix, Arizona, where they have a huge problem with carjackings and bikes being stolen, ATVs, everything else. So, I'm wondering if this crash could have been intentional to steal the bike. So it looks like her family are now asking the public for help with finding the motorcycle, which is a black 2022 Yamaha YZF-R7. The bike can be seen in the video at the top of the story. They're hoping that by obtaining the bike, they can figure out what caused the crash and how she went over the side of that interstate, falling 80 feet to her death. And in my opinion, all of this could have been avoided by telling her, no, you can have a bike when you have a home of your own, and you can have a bike when, no. 19, absolutely not. So in 2022 alone, there were over 3,212 fatal crashes among teenagers aged 16 to 19, with the deadliest periods being the weekend and nighttime hours. What do I tell y'all? Nothing good happens after dark. You don't see me in these streets when the sun goes down. Your chances of death go up because people are out drinking and driving and acting a fool. Teen drivers are more likely to engage in risky behaviors such as speeding and using cell phones, which further increases their chances of accidents. Male teen drivers, listen to this because I found this crazy. Male teen drivers are over 120% more likely to suffer from fatal crashes than female teens and account for 69% of all deaths. So yeah, it's a big problem. Big problem that nobody wants to talk about, The main reason for that is because society puts too much pressure on these young children before their brains are even developed. I mean, they come out of high school and we want to send them off to college and make them take on $100,000 in debt. And then, after they graduate, we expect them to get married and pop out some kids and take on a student mortgage, okay, while paying student loans. We put way too much on these kids. Way too much. I feel like society needs to get to a place where they recognize that even as adults at 18, they still need guidance. They still need discipline. They still need positive influences in their lives to guide them in the right direction. And I'm speaking from personal experience because I didn't have that, and I'm a triple felon now because of that. Society puts too much on these children, and facts like this are overlooked because we need them to have their driver's license so that they can go be part of the workforce and pay Uncle Sam some taxes. See what I mean? Teen drivers speed on 40% of trips. What? Teen drivers speed on 40% of trips and use handheld cell phones on 30% of their trips, with both behaviors occurring simultaneously on 5% of trips. Fatal teen crashes are far more likely to occur at the hands of a male driver rather than a female driver. And I've talked about this in the past. I talked to someone that I was just courting years ago. And I remember being in the passenger seat of his truck, and we were on the interstate, and he got the truck up to over 80 miles an hour. And I was just like, slow down, like, this is not okay. Like, and he's like, oh, you're tripping for nothing. Oh, you better pull over before I pull it over for us. First of all, ladies, if you go on a date with the guy and he has a sports car and he starts playing games like that, you need to leave that person alone. That is a person that has complete disregard for their own life, your life, and law. They just don't even care that the law says that the speed limit is 45. They're doing double with you in the passenger seat. That is a huge red flag. Huge red flag. That shows that they have no respect for your life. This is not a game. You get one shot, one life. And thousands of people get in horrible, tragic car accidents every single day. People have died for less. They really have. There was a viral video of a guy and a girl who went on their first date. You guys might remember this. Guy and a girl go on their first date. She's in the passenger seat. They get stopped by the cops. The cop writes them a ticket because the guy was speeding. 2 minutes later, they were both killed in a tragic accident. Chill bumps. So they had previously been pulled over for speeding, and it wasn't 2 minutes later after they took off from getting that ticket, they went around a corner and died. Viral video, it's somewhere on YouTube. So motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for teens in the U.S. Several factors like inexperience can put teens at risk. Proven strategies can improve safety of teen drivers on the road. About 3,000 teens in the U.S. aged 13 to 19 were killed, and about 227,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes in 2020 alone. The risk of motor vehicle crashes is higher among teens 16 to 19 more than any other group of age of drivers. The teen drivers in this age group have fatal crash rates almost 3 times higher as drivers over the age of 20 and older per mile driven. So as you can see, there's, this is my main reason I stay away from these people when I see them on the road. I'm like, oh God, a car full of kids. Let me get out of here. I do. You'll see like 5, 6 little teenagers packed into a damn Honda Civic that's low to the ground. And I'm like, oh God, let me get out of here before they hit me. Like, it's just, the facts are the facts, And I feel horrible for this girl that fell 80 feet, over 80 feet to her death. But I think that we need to be rational about this, and she shouldn't have been on a motorcycle. She didn't even have any driving experience yet. You don't have driving experience till 20, 30 years of being on the road. That's experience. So the fact that she had been on the road for less than 2 years and was on a crotch rocket, and then this accident happens and she falls over this overpass, in my opinion, it could have been prevented if she wouldn't have had a motorcycle. She was not responsible, reasonable. Her frontal cortex was not even developed. She shouldn't have been on that bike. And I'm sure that her family is going to live with that for the rest of their life. They sound like they're losing their minds. They're super upset. They're looking for someone to blame, which I find interesting. They're looking for the person that caused this crash. And it's like, honey, statistically speaking, the chances of someone else causing this crash are like slim to none. But the chances of her herself causing this crash are astronomical. So I think that there was probably speeding involved, in my opinion. It's sad. But if I was you, we're going to say no till like maybe after 25. How about that? And I know some people are like, oh, but at 18, they can do whatever they want. Are you sure about that? You sure about that? Like, just because they turn 18 doesn't mean that you stop being a mama or a daddy. Quite the opposite. You're going to have to work harder to be a mama or daddy because they're going to be defiant at that age. And you're still going to have to give them guidance and discipline to gear them in the right direction. I just think she shouldn't have been on a bike. So I want to talk about this former correctional officer who was charged for planting drugs and weapons. His name is Alavino Ramirez, a former canine sergeant at the California State Correctional Facility. He pled guilty to 1 count of wire fraud in connection with a scheme to plant contraband that he would then discover. Ramirez, who was 52, was indicted by a federal grand jury in October of 24. From approximately 2013 to September of 2022, Ramirez worked as an investigative service unit canine officer with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation at the San Quentin State Prison. In September of 2022, he was promoted to canine sergeant and began working at the California Medical Facility in California around November of 2022. From October of 2021 to February of 2024, he engaged in a scheme to smuggle and then plant contraband in common areas of San Quentin State Prison and the California Medical Facility, which he would then pretend to discover. So he was going to plant drugs, and then he was going to be like, oh my God, look what I found. Cocaine in the White House. Whose is this? Like, he was gonna, you know. What an idiot. What an idiot. So he was gonna do this in order to hold himself out as a successful canine officer with the hope that it would help him obtain a promotion to canine sergeant. The contraband items that he planted, including drugs such as methamphetamine, marijuana, and cocaine, drug paraphernalia, tobacco, cell phones, and weapons. At the time, Ramirez mixed the narcotics he planted in the prisons with salt and sugar, and he mixed the marijuana he planted in the prisons with lawn trimmings. He also sought to inflate his salary by claiming overtime related to the searches where contraband was removed. These little letters, y'all. I need glasses. I really do. So let's see here. He sought to inflate his salary by claiming overtime related to the searches where contraband was recovered pursuant to his fraudulent scheme and writing reports of these false discoveries. In total, he fraudulently obtained approximately almost $10,000 in overtime pay. He's currently released on bond, but his sentencing hearing is scheduled for September 18th of this year. He's looking at a maximum statutory penalty of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. So he was literally in a prison trying to plant evidence and drugs so that he could swoop in and save the day and pretend like Superman. But I just want you to know that, like, there would have been people caught in the crosshairs of this behavior. They would have innocently prosecuted or wrongly prosecuted people inside of the prison for this contraband. Absolutely. Somebody's head, a bunch of inmates' heads would have been on the chopping block. So he pled guilty Thursday to a federal wire fraud charge. But that's it. That's the only charge. He wasn't charged with possession of methamphetamines, even though he clearly was in possession of these things because he was using them to like bait and trap and look good. So it's crazy. And I wonder what else he's done. In his plea agreement, he confessed to using his position from 2021 to 2024 to smuggle in items including methamphetamine, marijuana, cocaine, tobacco, cell phones, drug paraphernalia into both facilities. So why wasn't he charged with that? It makes me so mad. Makes me so mad. When was this? January, February, March, April, May, June, July. That's this month. So it looks like at least 14 New Jersey law enforcement officers failed their random drug test. I'm trying to get this up. Hold on one second. This was posted on the 15th of July. Hold on. When is this from last year or this year? We ain't even in July. Brooke, I keep thinking it's July. I keep thinking it's July. Listen. No, this ain't it. I saw an article this morning where they had done some random drug tests in a police station with the officers, and all of them failed. And I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Oh, this was the poor baby girl that fell off the overpass. I'm finding an old article from 2014. At least 14 New Jersey law enforcement officers failed their random drug test in towns that conducted them last year, but most municipalities don't follow the same state's mandatory drug testing policy. So it was a bunch of 14 different New Jersey cops failed their drug test, but I saw another one. Hold on one second. Oh, it's Miami. It's Miami. Hold on. And was it? Yeah, it was. So it's all right. 4 Miami police internal affairs officers suspended over drug test investigations. This was June 16th of 25. 4 members of the Miami, and there's been a lot of shit going down in South Florida. I mean, there's been people being arrested, sheriffs being arrested. It's been crazy. There's a lot of corruption that goes on in Florida. Tons of corruption. 4 members of the Miami Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit, 2 police officers, 1 sergeant, and 1 lieutenant have been suspended and placed on administrative leave as part of an ongoing investigation. The 2 officers were relieved after allegedly failing random drug tests. Listen, why don't you tell us what they failed for? We talking marijuana or we talking methamphetamine, honey? Because it does matter. It does matter. To me, it does. Listen, they deal with a lot of shit. If they want to go smoke a joint, I'm okay with that. If they want to go smoke meth, I'm not okay with that. There's a fine line between hard drugs and soft drugs, okay? Fine line. And methamphetamine is crossing the line. Cocaine, crossing the line. Heroin, crossing the line. I think that marijuana is one of the most beneficial natural forms of medication that we have readily available. I really do. It's just wonderful. I don't smoke anymore, but I think it's wonderful. And I think that if these cops wanted to go smoke a joint, that's better than them getting drunk, in my opinion. But they don't tell us what they failed for. And they can't be doing that by law. By law, they're not allowed to smoke anything. You know, that is why we see a lot of military service members and first responders who take heavy to the bottle. They like the bottle. It's because they're not supposed to be doing anything else. The internal investigation focuses on whether the sergeant and the lieutenant followed departmental policies designed to guarantee the integrity of the Miami Police Department remains intact. I'm sorry. I do so well and then I start to break down. The internal investigation focuses on whether the sergeant and the lieutenant followed department policies designed to guarantee integrity of the Miami Police Department. The department has not publicly identified the officers or released additional details about the circumstances surrounding the investigation. So it looks like an earlier version of the story did not include mentions of 2 officers who, according to a source, have been suspended. The update version clarifies that 2 officers and a sergeant and a lieutenant have been suspended as part of this investigation. So it sounds like the 2 officers were doing drugs of some sort, failed their drug test, and then potentially the lieutenant and the sergeant, they did not follow policy and procedure when it comes to handling these situations where an officer has failed a drug test. So it sounds like they got wrapped up in this shit because they were probably supposed to either A, fire these people or completely lay them off, or, you know what I mean, lay them off pending an investigation, or put them on leave pending an investigation, or either B, lay them off completely. It's crazy. I say all the time that everybody's high. They really and people are struggling more than ever right now. Like, we saw another officer, I think it was in Phoenix. He was doing drugs in the bathroom. He stole drugs off of a suspect, and then he went into the police station bathroom and started smoking what he thought was meth, and it was fentanyl, and he OD'd. He died. And they brought him back, but another officer walks in to use the urinal, and homeboy's on the floor spazzing out, having an opioid overdose. I'm just saying, these things are, you know, happening a lot more, and it's because people are struggling. People are struggling. So there was a girl, I'm always telling y'all, I'm always like, people are dying out here. Social media is killing people. Having a social media page is hard. I'm always talking about how with this side of the fence, you always have people trying to destroy you, bully you, trying to harm you. This girl right here, who was part of, she was a child star. Her name was, I think is it Kalia Posey. She was on Toddlers and Tiaras. Beautiful girl, right? They found her dead. Hold on one second. I wanted to go to her wiki page. And I don't know how to say that. Is it Kayla Lexis Posey? She was an American beauty pageant contestant and a reality television personality, best known for her appearance on the TLC show Toddlers and Tiaras. So this girl has grew up in the spotlight for most of her life. She was a child dance star on Toddlers and Tiaras. It was a beauty pageant. It wasn't a dance show. It was a beauty pageant. This is where Honey Boo Boo got her start too, because she was on Toddlers and Tiaras, correct? Could be wrong. So Posey competed in children's beauty pageants from the age of 3 until her death at 16. She was only 16 years old when they found her dead. And this was 2-3 weeks ago. She did leave behind. No, it was back in 2022. She was only 16. It looks like it was May of 2022. May 11th of 2022. She died from asphyxia due to a ligature. Listen. Hold on. So on May 2nd of 2022, Posey was found dead at her Birchberry State Park. She was at a state park in Blaine, Washington. Her death was ruled suicide by asphyxia from a ligature hanging. After more than a year of investigating, Marcy, who was the mother of this poor 16-year-old girl, Marcy has uncovered evidence of cyberbullying, taunting she believes that led her precious girl to ending her own life. She rose to fame at just the age of 5 when she appeared on the U.S. hit reality show Toddlers and Tiaras. The contestant became an internet sensation after an image of her smiling cheekily on the show went viral. Y'all remember this? That was her when she was a child. Y'all remember that little girl making them crazy faces? That was her. That picture alone is, I mean, I'd be willing to bet that billions of people have seen this picture. That was her. She became known as the grinning girl meme. The image was shared millions of times around the world, and so sad. Growing up on camera, she was always smiling and full of life. Her persona, a persona her mom says was not just for the cameras. She was beautiful, caring, lovable, and humble. The beauty queen and trained contortionist was a regular pageant competitor who began performing at just the age of 3. She continued her passion for competing, winning the title of Miss Washington Teen USA in February of 22. And then in May, she kills herself. Ugh, y'all. People are evil. People are evil. They were jealous of her. She was everything they were not. People are evil. So she won Miss Teen USA in February of 22. And then come May, she was dead. She went off into a state park and killed herself at 16 years old. From the outside, the bubbly, outgoing teen had the world at her fingertips. Circus soul delay. Listen, you know that them circus people that do all the contortionist stuff and they fly from the sky. They had expressed interest in her, which would have been a huge contract for her. They expressed interest in her contortionist abilities, and she was training smaller kids in the pageant world. She had celebrated her sweet 16 in April and just earned a spot in the coveted cheerleading team at her school. She was known to be mature, kind, and a hard worker. She was coaching children online, stretch contortion classes every Thursday. Behind closed doors, she was the target of bullies. Marcy reveals she knew of multiple high school cliques that had singled her daughter out after Posey had split with her boyfriend. Her peers and once close friends had turned their back on her after this breakup, picking the boy's side. People need to understand that this girl was still a child. Like, I know she was doing big things, but she still does not have a baseline for human behavior. She hasn't experienced enough to know that the world is evil, in my opinion. None of this was her fault, but clearly she took it out on herself, thinking that she was the fucking problem. Marcy reveals that she knew of multiple blah, blah, blah. Marcy, who was the mother of Miss Posey, says this was a new high school for her. The kids in this small town have been together since preschool days. I had to go to the school and talk with the principal, expressing that she also spoke with other parents about the taunting of her daughter. So this girl was getting bullied online. She's getting bullied at school. The teen confided in her mom, detailing the harassment she was experiencing at school. Armed with this information, Marcy has done everything she could to stop the bullies. But what Posey wasn't telling her mom is that the bullies had moved online. So for months, the 16-year-old bottled up all of the cyber hate against her. Marcy had no idea what her daughter was holding in. So there appears to be screenshots of some of the bullying that was taking place online against this girl that the mother later found after they found this poor girl's body in the woods. Wow. You need to, it says KILL. You need to, haha, you're like literally a piece of shit human being. It's You know, I'm actually really pissed that your drama... First of all, whoever this child is, they need to go back to school. I hope they're still in it, because they can't speak. It sounds like, she was being bullied. They were telling her to off herself. Her body was found in Birch Bay Park in Washington State, and a coroner later ruled that she had taken her own life. That's her and her mother. But sprinkled among the tributes were questions about what caused her to take such a drastic action. Some accused the spotlight of fame. Others questioned if she was involved in drugs or alcohol. I am so sick of this shit. The victim blaming. Oh, she was... She's a fucking beauty. She was Miss Teen USA. She wasn't on fucking drugs. She was teaching children. She was an active participant in making her life the best that it could be. The victim blaming. It was drugs, it was alcohol, it was this, it was that. It was fucking bullying. It was fucking bullying. It was jealousy that stole this girl's life. The stupidity and the fact that the media constantly wants to victim blame pisses me off. Was it drugs? Was it alcohol? So Marcy, the mother of, I can't say her name, is it Kayla? Kayla? Listen, the mother, Marcy, uncovered screenshots of messages tormenting the late teen. These lengthy messages captured from social media platforms such as Snapchat were sent to her the night before prom. Some of them saying, "You're like a literal piece of shit. You're honestly fucked up." People saying that they were mad at her. And Marcy says of the bully's messages, "I had no clue. She did not tell me about these bullying communications." Marcy also claims that she was fighting with some of her peers on prom night. All the bullies were once friends of hers and they turned on her. She did nothing to deserve any of it. You know why, Big Mama? You know why, Miss Marcy Mama? Marcy, my new mama? Because she just won that Teen USA pageant. They were jealous. They felt some type of way about her success and where she was headed. If she's already making moves like that at 16, imagine what she was going to be doing at 26. They were jealous. Everything they weren't. The mom claims that she's made multiple attempts to reach those involved with the messages, but then she was blocked on social media. She has since then taken her private social media accounts, begging police to investigate. With rates of cyberbullying on the up, the mother wants laws to catch up with technology to help to stop keyboard warriors in their tracks. In Australia, cyberbullying attracts jail terms of between 5 and 10 years, according to a lawyers group called Criminal Defence Lawyers of Australia. Cyberbullying is defined as any conduct through the use of social media, text, email, or phone calls from any electronic telecommunication devices that causes a person to be intimidated, harassed, or threatens a person's safety or causes reasonable apprehension of violence. Meanwhile, children continue to be victims of cyberbullying, with Australia's independent regulatory for online safety receiving more than 200 complaints from 2019 from kids aged 8 to 13. Here's the thought. How about we don't give them cell phones until they need to go work a job? That age 8 to 13, we could prevent a lot of shit if we just don't give them phones. You know, like them taking their own lives in state parks when they have their whole life ahead of them. I mean, it really makes me sick. It really makes me sick. In 2022, that number skyrocketed from 200 complaints to over 740 complaints. Worldwide, more than 1 in 3 children say that they have deleted an account to avoid bullying. Marcy hopes that her daughter's tragic story can help save young lives. She was found wearing her Sweet 16 ring. Y'all, so fucked up. People are so jealous, and they were absolutely jealous of her. It makes perfect sense. The timeline. She wins Miss Teen USA in February. She has her sweet 16th birthday in April, and then in May, she takes her own life. It makes perfect sense. Her success is what caused her own friends to turn against her. It's very clear. This is basic psychology 101. It's very clear. They hated her because they weren't her. And somehow they got in her head and convinced her that she was the problem, and she was a piece of shit, and she was going nowhere. And it's just so tragic. I see so many of these cases with young teenagers, and their brains are 10 years from being developed, and they're taking their own lives in droves. In droves. It's sad. It's not right. I just think that, I think that life is super unfair and tragic, and people are evil. Really, really evil. Really, really evil. Y'all, I'm sad now. Sorry. Maybe I should have started with that one, because now I'm just sad. I just, so fucked up. So fucked up. And you know, the most fucked up thing is those little bullies, they don't feel bad at all about her losing her life. Not one of them regrets the way that they treated her and the things that they said to her. Because only someone with a lack of conscience can even behave that way to begin with. I don't believe that bullies change. Bullies grow up being little bullies, and then they turn into big bullies in the fucking workplace after they leave school. It's just the way that it is. That's been my experience. These people, they lack a conscience, because only someone that lacks a conscience could even bully somebody like that, in my opinion. These problems are getting worse because narcissism is getting worse. I got another check engine light on. I don't know why. I swear to God. Look at this. What'd that do? I don't know. Great question. Great question. I think I need to go figure out. So that's what I'm going to go do. And we will talk this afternoon. I need to shower. I need to get my life together. I had schoolwork to do this morning, so I immediately done that. I got that started at like 6:15, 6:30. And I've been working all morning. But we'll hang out this afternoon. I might go work out, and then we might chill or something. I love you guys. Thanks for coming to my morning talk at 2. A lot of stuff in the news. A lot of stuff in the news. And we're going to be talking about bullying more, because this is becoming a huge problem. It's like a worldwide problem. And I don't think that most people understand how these things work or how they psychologically impact the victim. But clearly we have a lot of children out here taking their own lives. She is not the only one. And the reason that she got worldwide media attention over this is because she was a beauty pageant and she was on TV. If she would have not been a star, they probably wouldn't even have reported on this case. And I think that's the most concerning part, is that she was a celebrity, and that's why they gave her this attention in her death. But there's so many children out here that are harming themselves that it never makes it into the media. Social media is destroying young people. And we're going to talk about that more this week. I love you guys, and pray for me, because God knows I need it, and I'm praying for y'all. Bye, y'all. Happy Tuesday.